Hi everyone, my name is Christy Trusty, and if you haven't been to one of my review videos before, I am a travel advisor for Sunshine Bird Vacations LLC and the owner. Um, so what I do here is I bring you my trips that I've been on in the past and my review of them. So this trip was to New Zealand in November of 2019. So kind of a long time ago, had to dig up some memories, had to dig up some photos. Couldn't find a lot of it, right? Because it's all buried somewhere on a hard drive that I couldn't find. But I wanted to share kind of my trip, the costs associated with it, and what we did, and how we took a 2 week journey all the way from Auckland on the North Island all the way down to Queenstown on the South Island, and kind of saw some of the main highlights in New Zealand. So, first off, this trip was just myself and my husband at the time. We were newly married a year, I believe. Yeah, a year and a half almost. And so this all started because my husband had a conference for work in Auckland, New Zealand. And because he was already going to be there, we decided, hey, I'm gonna fly out after your week of work is done at that conference, and we're just gonna travel around New Zealand for 2 weeks on vacation. And then you'll go back because basically what that means is that his work purchased his flight for him, so we only had to splurge to get one expensive flight for me. So that's kind of how this trip came about was, hey, my husband's already gonna be there. Why don't I fly in? We'll take 2 weeks of vacation, we'll travel around, and then we'll go home. And a lot of our early relationship trips kind of started this way because he was traveling a lot more for work. However, yeah, it was I would love to go back, but this was if you know anything about New Zealand, the seasons are switched around with the United States. So it was actually, though it was November 2019, fall for us. It was actually spring going into summer for New Zealand. So while it was still cold, it was still too cold for like summer activities when we went. It was still a wonderful experience to see like the scenery, the landscapes, the beautiful, beautiful landscapes. My goodness, they have it all there. So let's really get into this now so we can get going. So this is going to be a longish review because I'm going through all 14 days that we spent in New Zealand. So first off, day one. So we used to live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So I flew from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Um, However, I do want to detail first off the exchange rates. So everything price-wise that you see in this review is going to be United States dollar. But in case you were wondering, kind of interested in what the New Zealand dollar looks like, but back in 2019 when we went, it was about 1.5, $1.50 to a dollar of United States dollar. And right now it's actually 1.7 to 1. That doesn't mean really anything. It just gives you an idea of like the exchange rate so that if you are planning to go to New Zealand, you can kind of understand, like if you're looking at New Zealand sites, and their prices, kind of understand what it is in relationship to your United States dollar. Um, so first off, flight to New Zealand from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This is the most awful part of the vacation because, as you can see here, I boarded at 3:10 p.m. on a Thursday and I arrived at 9 a.m. on a oh, that didn't update, but it's basically 9 a.m. on a Saturday. So it's a 23-hour flight with two layovers. I had a layover in Denver and a layover in San Francisco. And the trip from San Francisco to New Zealand was a red eye because that was the longest of the route there. So 23 hours of travel plus you lose a day. So 2 days to get there. Just keep that in mind. And since we wanted a full 2 weeks, I had to take off a couple. Um, Honestly, I just had to take off Friday. So I had to take off 2 weeks and Friday, and one day to get there. So when I got there, my husband was already there, so I Ubered over, and instead of staying at the hotel that he was staying at for work, we got an Airbnb in Auckland. I tried to take a picture of these Airbnbs because obviously I don't want to share all the personal details like address or whatever. Instead, this is kind of what the listing looked like. So central stylish PVTE roof TCE, gym, pool, and spa, entire home hosted by Joe. And I did not check to see if these are still there or still look like this. It'd be hard to see or hard to tell if you're getting the same one that I had without like linking it to you. So, anyways, we checked into this Airbnb. We were going to stay 2 nights, Saturday night and Sunday night in Auckland. So it was $300, which isn't bad, 150. That's what we tried to keep this whole trip to, was like 150 a night because we were very early in our marriage, and we had just paid for a wedding. So we're trying to keep all the costs as cheap as possible going on this trip. Um, so we could experience all of the other things that it had to offer. So one of the things that we did do was the Sky Tower. And I don't know why this thing is doing that. Sorry, my bar at the bottom is keeping me from reading my full slide, which is annoying me. But basically that night we went and we went up that sky tower. You can see it's circled here, this thing right here. That's one of the main attractions in Auckland because you go up into it and you see like just the beautiful view of New Zealand. So what better way to start than to go up high and just take in the landscape, right? So it was a wonderful time to go up there. So day two truly started off our vacation here. So on day two, we picked up our Hertz rental car. So where we stayed, I actually took this. I had a full itinerary. That's why I remember all of this because I always have an itinerary wherever I go. I take down all of the costs, like I do everything. So I'm very organized, and that's why I remember all of this. But our walk from where we were staying, Airbnb, to the Hertz rental car was only 12 minutes. So, and I detailed it that way because I wanted to be able to walk and pick up the car and drive it back so that we didn't have to pay for an Uber. Um, so it was a 12-minute walk. We walked there, picked up the car, took it back. It was $284 for 1 week, which is not bad at all. I can't tell you what gas was. I don't remember that because though I'm very organized at planning for vacations, I'm not very good at tracking what we spent while we were on vacation. At least I couldn't find it back in 2019. I'm pretty good at it now, but back in 2019, I was not. So either way, we picked up that car so that we had it. And then we went on a Wahike Island day trip from Auckland. So we purchased this from Fuller's. It was a ferry, the ferry to get there, as well as the hop on, hop off bus tour. And so we went ahead and yeah, I'm recording. I just want to make sure. We went ahead and we bought that in advance, and then we took an Uber. So we had to Uber to the Queen's Wharf. So there's one Uber cost. Um, and then we caught the 9 a.m. ferry to Wahiki Island, which was about a 35-minute trip. So we got there around 9:35-ish, I would say. And then we took the hop on hop off bus. You can see here, this is the map that came with that hop on hop off bus tour. You can see how spread out everything is. I'm sure you could go there and you could walk like Maine, maybe a few places. But there is quite a bit of island to explore, and this hop on hop off bus kind of covers it all. So I didn't meticulously organize, which wineries we visited and what I thought of them. Um, but I do know that we took the 7 p.m. ferry back to Auckland. So we spent from like 9:35 a.m. all the way to 7 p.m. on this island. There was enough to do. There was a lot of wineries. And I do remember that they even had like like outdoor fun activities at the wineries. So it wasn't like you're just sitting there drinking wine. There was a lot of like outside activities. I do remember that. Um, so like I can't remember if they had bags, but maybe like checkers and stuff. I'm trying to my memory is so old now. 2019 to 2025. Too long apparently for me. But yeah, I remember having fun, being a little bit tipsy and playing outside on the lawn and at least one of those wineries, which was a really good time. Um, so that's how we spent our day two in New Zealand. And it was beautiful. You can see here is the winery going down. It's an island. You get island views everywhere, nice blue water. It was again too cold to swim, so we didn't do any like beach activities or anything like that. So I cannot tell you how the beaches are there, but we did go around all the wineries, and that's a wonderful island if you like wine. Oops, there we go. So day three, we took our vacation on the road, and we started off by checking out of the Airbnb, and we started really early at 7 a.m. so that we could get to the Waitomo glowworm caves. This is a big main attraction in New Zealand. Basically, it's kind of disgusting, but it's all these little worms at the top, kind of hanging on threads almost of this cave. And when you get in where it's dark enough, you can see this picture right here where it just like lights up the roof of the cave just like a starry night. It's amazing, especially when you're going like during the day. You're like, oh my gosh, look, it's like nighttime in here. So we did that tour, and you do have to book like all this stuff in advance. You can't just show up and do this. So this was all booked in advance. We toured the Waitomo Glowworm Caves at 9:30. I remember I think it was 9:45. The actual tour was 9:45, but we had to be there at 9:30, which is why I put that in my itinerary. And that was $71 for two adults, so not too bad. Um, and then after that, we continued on and drove to the Hobbiton movie set. So we did the combined movie tour as well as lunch at the Green Dragon Inn. And that started at 1 p.m. I believe we did the lunch first and then the tour. And it was $240 for two adults. But if you like Lord of the Rings, you can't go to New Zealand and not stop at this place. This is where they did a lot of the filming. You can see the little hobbit homes there. There's no insides, right? There's no insides to them. And it's more just doorways that lead to nowhere. But they will take fun photos for you, like you guys coming out of the hobbit hole. So it was definitely fun. And this is my husband here, and that's the two of us coming out. So I do have some of these are my own photos, and some of these are photos that I took offline just to kind of show you what it was because I couldn't dig up our photos, or maybe our photos weren't amazing. Like it's really hard to get this type of photo with a cell phone, at least back in 2019. Um, so after that, we checked into the Airbnb and um so that Airbnb was in Rotorua. So we drove on from the Hobbiton movie set and checked into the Airbnb in Rotorua. And that was $200 for 2 nights, so even cheaper than the Auckland one. And this was pulled from the listing. Kia Ora apartment, Rotorua apartment, entire home hosted by Liz. So that's what we did there. So for day four, we woke up in Rotorua and we did a nice early redwoods tree walk. This was also a scheduled tour that you have to do, even though it's kind of a self-guided tour. It's got all these. It was really cool experience, honestly. All these little like bridges, and you're up in the trees walking around this pathway, and it's just so beautiful. And that was $60 for two adults, and it goes to like preserving the redwoods there. And then after we did that, we went over to the Taipua Geothermal National Wonders at 10 a.m. And we toured that. That was $112 to get in. Again, a tour at your own pace type of thing. So we did both of these things rather quickly. I think the walk was only like 30 minutes, and then we went over and did this one for an hour. And then after that, we got lunch and then we hung out with the cats at the Fancy Meow Cat Cafe. So I kid you not, like this was in the infancy of cat cafes. We had never seen one before. So when we saw this, we were like, "Oh, we got to go do that." Because one thing about me and my husband, we're cat people. We like cats quite a bit. So it's kind of like a home away from home to go and sit down with like a nice coffee, pet the cats, feel the calm, the relaxing atmosphere. I don't know how to describe it, but I love cats. So after we went to the Fancy Meow Cat Cafe, which is an amazing name for a cat cafe, and it needs to come somewhere over here so I can go to it all the time. We explored the Waimangu, and I might be pronouncing some of the stuff wrong, so please bear with me. Volcanic Valley, that was around 1:30 p.m. So after we did lunch and hung out with the cats, we went over to this Volcanic Valley to kind of go and look around. Again, beautiful. You can see here there's some steam coming off of it. That's because they have like natural like hot springs, not something you would want to go into, like think Yellowstone. But like they do have natural geothermal stuff going on there as well as so it was basically a day of geothermal fun. Um and that was $84 for two adults. And then after that, this was a really big crowded day, by the way. I've since not crowded my days as much as this one when planning, just to give us some rest, some relaxation. But it's kind of necessary when you're trying to take in everything on a 2-week vacation somewhere that you may or may not visit again. Um, so for dinner, we did the Rotorua Maori Hang-I dinner and performance at 6:35 p.m. Again, another thing you have to book. Um, $265 for two adults, so a little pricey. But I would equate it to if you've ever been to Hawaii, like a luau kind of thing, because this Maori culture that's in New Zealand, they're Polynesian as well, so a little bit different how they created their culture, right? But kind of from the same base. So they had different ways of using the landscape of New Zealand. So these like hot springs and stuff, they would actually use to cook. So very, very interesting culture to go. And so if you're in New Zealand, you have to check out the cultural sites such as this one. It was they put on a performance. They taught them they have like a warrior dance that they made my husband do. I still have the video, but I don't hate him enough to put it online. So you'll probably not see that one. Uh, And so it was just a really great time. And I do say definitely check out the cultural things when you go to a different country because you want to immerse yourself in that culture. Okay, day 5, Rotorua to Tapo. We checked out of the Airbnb and started driving at 9 a.m., so a little bit later morning than the 7 a.m. And then we explored the Waiatapo Thermal Wonderland at 9:30 a.m. And when I say we, I mean me, because at that time my husband was not feeling well, not at all. There was something wrong with him. I'll leave out the details, but he just could not leave the car and go explore this. He just felt so bad that he could not leave the car. So I ended up kind of running around this place kind of quickly because I didn't want to leave him in the car too long, but I also wanted to see it. And I took lots of pictures. And it was so beautiful, the colors that they had at this place. You can see here that this is a picture of the green. This is actually my picture of it. So you can see it's like so green, and I've never seen like a green pool of water. I've seen like a scummy pool of water, but this was like green just in the color of the water. So really, really cool. And after that, we did drive on to where we checked in for the night in Tapo. That was at the Phoenix Resort Hotel at 1:30 p.m. We ended up checking in there, and it was $180 for 2 nights. Oh, and I should explain here, I put for Tapo $66 for two adults because I think we paid ahead and basically missed out on that like $33. Oh well. And then $180 for 2 nights at the hotel in Tapo. And then I did schedule this so they have this spa thermal park that you can go to, and then there's like a walking path all the way to the Hookah Falls Outlook. And I was gonna have us do that. We ended up not doing that, but we did go just to the Outlook so we could see the Hookah Falls. So that was good to see the Hookah Falls, but we didn't do the actual walk, which I've heard is really cool. And then the spa thermal park, I think that's like someplace you can sit in the baths and stuff. They have like the hot spring baths. So we missed that as well, just because my husband wasn't feeling well. So we went ahead and just hunkered down for the night, didn't do too much on day 5, just to give him a break. And honestly, day 6 ended up being a sick day because they called us the night before and canceled our Tongariro Alpine crossing. So this kind of came as a blessing because we got our money back. We got refunded because it was canceled due to high winds. Um, but basically, it's like a walk that goes up and back over. And because it's a one way, you have to actually schedule a shuttle to pick you up at the other end and get you back to your car. So that's what the shuttle is for. Otherwise, the hike is free. They just say, make sure that you have enough like water, you bring some food, all that good stuff. So you have to be prepared for it because it's 8 hours. It could be 8 hour hike. Kind of intense. You're going uphill for the first amount. So honestly, downhill is probably easier on the second part. We were going to do it because we were in really good shape and we wanted to see it because the fun fact here is the fictional Mount Doom from the Lord of the Rings. It's not a real place, but and forgive me because I cannot say this, Mount Nguruho in New Zealand's Tongariro National Park served as its stand-in for the film. So this is actually like filming locations that you're walking through like out in nature for the Lord of the Rings in The Hobbit, I believe. So either way, that got canceled. It would have been 82.66 for two adults for the shuttle, and the walk was free. The hike is free. But that got canceled, which was kind of a blessing because my husband was still very, very sick. It was something that wasn't, it was basically like food poisoning. Something he had eaten, was not going through his body, so he needed help. Ended up being something, biological, so they had to give him some, think it was like steroids or something. But he went to the clinic there and he got some medicine, and it was actually a lot cheaper than in like the United States. But I can't tell you how much it was because I did not track that. Like I said before, I did not track any of the expenses while we were there, just beforehand when I was making the schedule. So he went and he got medicine, and thank God, because by day 7, he was feeling so much better. So day 7, we went from Tapo to Wellington on our car ride. We checked out of our Airbnb and started driving at 8 a.m., a little earlier. We stopped and had some lunch in Napier by the sea around 11 a.m., which was a beautiful place to stop and just have some lunch. Unfortunately, we weren't able to check out more of Napier. We went on um, to explore the Pukaha National Wildlife Center. So this was like 6 hours of driving, I believe, on my schedule. So we went here first, stopped for lunch, and then we went to the Pukaha National Wildlife Center, which is the home of the white kiwi. So can't miss this stop because you gotta see the white kiwi. Yes, they have different color kiwi, but the white kiwi is very, very rare. And I did check and it is still there. So you haven't missed it yet. Um, so we did that at 3 p.m. It was $40 for two adults. And the wonderful thing about this Pukaha National Wildlife Center, it was the only place we were able to see a kiwi. And we visited some other like wildlife centers. They just didn't have the nocturnal house like this one has. So there was a nocturnal house here where you could go in, and what they do is they actually switch around the kiwi and make it think it's nighttime when it's daytime. So you can actually see them going out because the kiwi birds are nocturnal. So it was really amazing to see them. However, since it's like a dark exhibit, it's kind of hard to see the white one versus the other kiwi, you know. It's just kind of hard. Maybe we didn't see it. I don't remember being able to be like, oh, that's the white one or that's the regular one. It was more just like, oh, that's a kiwi. That's so cool. Um, so keep that in mind. And then they also had takahe here there, which is a flightless endangered species that's only found in New Zealand. So there's so much wildlife that is only found in New Zealand. And one thing I want to note is if you want something like Australia that doesn't have all of the predators that want to kill you, you want New Zealand. There's hardly any predators there. There's no snakes, there's no gators, I don't know. It's just an amazing place without any of those predators or everything wanting to kill you, right? Like I don't think I even saw like big spiders or anything. So definitely a wonderful place. Um and then we went on from this wildlife center to Wellington and checked into our Airbnb there around 7:30 p.m. That was 245 for 2 nights, so a little bit more expensive. And it was modern nest, 10-minute walk to Te Papa, which you'll see on the next slide. Te Papa is a museum there. So it was basically we were staying downtown, and it was entire home apartment by Kai. So let's move on to day 8, which was Wellington. And so the first thing we had to do, because Wellington was the end of our North Island journey, was we had to return our rental car. So we returned our rental car to Hertz and we drove there. Um, and honestly, we didn't worry too much about walking back, but you can see it was only like 5-minute drive, so we could have walked back because we had to go on to the Weta Workshop. So again, more the Weta Workshop is something, it's a tour you have to book. It's not you just show up and go, I want to take the tour. You got to book it because they take you. This is basically the Weta Workshop is the place that designed a lot of the like statues, a lot of the armor, like everything that was in Lord of the Rings. And honestly, they did, I think it said they did some Avatar as well. So a lot of cool things in that workshop where they show you like I remember they had a whole like mini village because they would make mini things like how they started off was like making mini things for movies that look like real scenes, and they would take those scenes and they would create like movies with them. So it's a really cool tour that they take you on, and that was at 9 a.m. And that was $35 for 2 adults, so not too expensive. And then they have an amazing shop there. And I remember what I bought from that shop because you have to limit yourself, right? You can't just buy everything. So what I bought from that shop was the Tomb Raider jade necklace. It was real jade, and I was like, oh, it's real jade, and it's Tomb Raider, which I like Tomb Raider. So that's what I got from that shop. And then after that, we went to Zealandia, which is another like wildlife preserve. And you can see here we saw more takahe, and then some more other birds that they have there that do fly. And that was $42 for 2 adults. And you can see here we went from 9 a.m. to 10:30. So not a lot of time is needed for the sweater workshop. And then from 10:30, we probably had some lunch somewhere in the middle here because we didn't end up going to Te Papa Museum until 2 p.m. And that is a free museum, so don't miss it. Why miss it, right? You can see here, this is my husband, and he is see how big this is? This is an actual like statue that they put together. And it basically goes through like the history of New Zealand. So you have to go there and learn all about New Zealand. And then they have these amazing, huge statues that you can go and see like the artwork and how they put it together. And it's just so fascinating. So that's what we did on our day in Wellington. So day 9. So for day 9, to get from the North Island to the South Island, you actually have to take a ferry. So there might be a couple different options, but we took the Inter-Islander ferry, and it is a scenic cruise through the Cook Strait. It is a 3.5 3.5 hour trip. But I remember there were amazing windows in the front. Like if you can see them right here, these windows, there's a place to sit there, kind of like amphitheater like, and it's just like you're cruising through on your own. Like it's like the perfect seat. But they did have other things going on board, but we spent most of our time up here just viewing everything that we could. Plus, it was a little cold outside, so we didn't want to be on any decks. And that was $160 for 2 adults. So not too bad to get from one island to the next island. And then after we got to basically it takes you from Wellington to Picton is the place where they drop you off. And you can see here Picton to our Ace rental cars location was only a 2-minute walk. This is where the Inter-Islander would drop you off. So we arrived there around 12:30 p.m. We picked up our rental car from Ace, which was 268 for the week, so a little bit more expensive. And I think that's just because we waited a little bit too long to book that one and there weren't that many options. There is an option to to like bring your rental car onto the Inter-Islander, but I think they kind of they frown on that because then the car ends up on the south side. But I did just look up a tip that you might be able to call the car rental company, and see if they have like a low cost rental because you'd be returning it to the original from like, so if you're taking from like North Island to South Island and someone did it backwards and took the South Island to North Island and left the car there, but they want it back in the South Island location, they might give you a little cheaper deal because you'd be delivering it. So that's always something that you can call up and see if that works or not. Um, and then after we picked up the car, we went over to Blenheim, which is another wonderful winery area. There's so many great lands for growing vines for the grapes, and there's all different I can't tell you off the top of my head, but there's all different varieties. So it's not like you're just tasting the same wine wherever you go. It's like this area is Sauvignon Blanc, this area might have Chardonnay. It's definitely based on the area and what grape grows best there. So we ate lunch and we tasted some wines there around 2 p.m. I know, a little bit of a late lunch. And then we went on and drove to Kaikoura, and we checked into the Kaikoura Sierra Beachfront Motel. You can see the picture here. So this was $91 for one night. I think it was the cheapest one night stay. It was also a motel, so it wasn't like an amazing place to stay, but it was clean and it was what we needed for one night. So we checked in there around 5:30 p.m. and got some dinner in Kaikoura, which is a little coastal town right by the sea there. So very beautiful place. Because day 10, we had scheduled this is the highlight of our vacation. This is what I remember the best whenever I'm telling like people go to New Zealand. It's go to New Zealand and swim with a real fur seal colony. It's the only place I believe in the world, maybe one of two, where you can actually swim with a fur seal colony, with no risk of like being hurt by orcas or, that was my scare. That was what I was afraid of, was like, oh, orcas are there and they eat fur seals. So are we going to be in danger? That was like one of my first questions. And they're like, no, no, you won't be in danger. The orcas can't come where we're going because what it is it's like a rocky outcropping. and it's shallower in that area. So the colony actually sits up on the rocks and then they'll come and like swim in the shallow water with you. So it was so awesome. And honestly, I really wish I could find because I had like a little video recorder with me that I take in the water. Cannot find that video. So sorry guys, I can't find the video of all of the seals swimming around. It was so awesome though. I wish I could. But I just don't have it anymore. I'm sorry. So anyways, we did that at 9:30 a.m. was the start of that. It was a 3-hour tour, probably at least a good hour in the water. And guys, it was freezing. So we got the long wetsuits. It included the long wetsuits. And we went into the we went into the water. It was probably an hour, but by the time you get out of there, even with a wetsuit, you're freezing, especially on the way back. And so what they did to make it more pleasurable on the way back, is they had like a hose of hot water and they would put it in your wetsuit. And it was just like amazing. It felt like going to a spa, right? Where you go cold water, hot water, and then you just feel amazing afterwards. So they just like pumped everybody full of this warm water in their wetsuits, and we were all pretty warm on the way back. And it was this little speedboat here, so no sickness. I get motion sick, but no sickness on this one because speedboat, you don't feel the waves. And then when it is anchored, you're in the water. And there weren't rough waves in that area because it was a shallow, like rocky outcropping, and they wouldn't want waves, right? So they might cancel this if it was wavy. But anyways, one thing I forgot to note is we chose the hotel we did because it was only a 16-minute walk to this tour. So we left the car there, we walked to this tour, and then we came back to get our car again. Um, and then after that tour, we went on our way and kind of did like a direct drive just to Christchurch there. And checked into an Airbnb around 3:30 p.m., which was 110 for one night. And it was called Outstanding City Center, Hagley Park location, entire home apartment hosted by Susan. That's where we stayed. So day 11 was Christchurch to Twizzle, and I mean this it's like one night here, one night there, one night there. On the North Island, it was like 2 nights, 2 nights, 2 nights. We were able to do that, but this on the South Island, it's very one night, one night, one night. Might be a little bit longer. I don't know, or maybe more highlights to hit. Is why we did that. But for day 11, Christchurch to Twizzle. So we checked out of our Airbnb and started driving at 8 a.m. We stopped in Tekapo for lake views, the Lake Tekapo there. You can see this is the Lake Tekapo. Amazing views of the mountains right by the lake. So it's beautiful. And it was the time of year where they have the flowers, the rare flowers. I forget the lupins. They're called lupins. That's what it is. So that was really nice to see those flowers too, but for some reason I didn't take a photo. So anyways, we got some lunch there at 11 a.m., took in the views, and then we drove on to Mount Cook National Park. And this is another not I wouldn't say intense hike. I mean, it's definitely like if you have disabilities, you're not going to be able to do it because you're eventually going to hit some place that's just not doable because it does have a path, but it's not all the way paved, at least for the Hookers Valley hike. The Tasman Glacier Lookout, that was a little smaller of a hike. I think it was only like an hour. And the Hookers Valley hike was 2 to 3 hours. So the one tip I have for the Hookers Valley hike is make sure to wear layers. We did not. We were freezing. Um, and think about it this way, like Christchurch is up too. So as cold as it was when we went, it was even colder in Christchurch or in Mount Cook National Park. Sorry, I said Christchurch, but I meant Mount Cook National Park. Um, so either way, wear layers if you're going on this hike because it is 2 to 3 hours, and it was so cold that we had to turn back early because we are like popsicles, we are going to die. So we turned back, and you go there and then you take the same trail back. So we didn't get to the end of it, but we did go like 75% of the way, I would say. Um, it was just one of those things where like if we keep walking for a half hour, would we get there? But we just didn't know. So it was like it's better to just turn back and go back. And I do remember there was like this lodge out there as well at Mount Cook National Park. More expensive to stay there, which is why we didn't. But we did go and we did eat dinner there. Just imagine it was like snowing for part of this walk, so we're like soaked and we're sitting in this really nice like dining room, but it was the best experience because they had windows looking out onto the park and the food was really amazing and you were just happy to be inside and warm. So I remember that being an amazing experience. But yeah, we did that from like 1 to 5 p.m. We got some dinner. And then we continued on to Twizzle, checked into an Airbnb there around 7 p.m. And that was $113 for one night. It was called Charming Twizzle River Cottage Free Wi-Fi Entire Home Apartment hosted by Elaine. So day 12 was Twizzle to Teanu. So we checked out of the Airbnb and started driving at 8 a.m. earlier morning. We visited the Wanaka Lavender Farm at 9:30 a.m., which was only about $10 for two adults. So I remember I scheduled that one as more of a stop in between the drive just to give us somewhere to stretch our legs. But it was a really beautiful place and they had like lavender themed treats and stuff like that. So it was great. The next stop that I scheduled on our way to Tanu was Mount Difficulty Wines. It was a winery. You can see, I don't know why, but I don't have the picture of the view, just the view. I have a picture of my wine glass with the view. But you can see how amazing is that view, right? So I picked this place because I wanted to eat lunch with that view. And then this was the one place where I was like, okay, I'm gonna order the famous lamb, that because they have so many sheep in New Zealand that lamb is a delicacy there. They do it really well. And I was kind of skeptical because I don't usually like it. So I ordered it anyways because I wanted to try it and it was nice to have the wine there. Um, so I ordered it, I tried it. It was amazing. I haven't had lamb that good since. So definitely recommend if you're on this route, stop at Mount Difficulty Wines. There are a million wineries that you could stop at though. So feel free to divert and go anywhere that looks amazingly interesting to you, right? And then we checked into Tanu Airbnb around 3 p.m. That was 220 for 2 nights. So we finally got to stay for 2 nights somewhere in Tanu. It was the Silver Birch Cottage Tanu with Wi-Fi and Sky TV, entire home apartment hosted by Shosho. So day 13 was our Milford Sound day trip. Yes, we stayed in Tandun. We took a day trip to Milford Sound. That's how we did this. So we woke up and started driving at 8 a.m. We did the Lake Gun hike. There's so many like free little hikes and outlooks as you're going along this path to where you would get on the cruise for Milford Sound. So we did the Lake Gun hike, which was only about 45 minutes through the rainforest. You can see how cool all these landscapes were just so different from one to the next, right? Like we're hiking through snow-covered mountains with snow on us, and now we're down in a rainforest. It's crazy how different it is from one location to the next in New Zealand. So that was at 9 a.m. We did that for 45 minutes, and then we stopped at some other small hikes and lookouts on the way. These are pictures from those. This one that stays in our memory was Mirror Lake. You can see how like they even put the sign upside down so that you could see it in the reflection, but it was so beautiful, Mirror Lake. And then this was another thing we booked ahead because there were some available when we got there, but they recommend booking it ahead just to make sure that you have some availability on a boat. Um, so we cruised the Milford Sound at 12 p.m. It was a 2-hour tour and $127 for two adults. I, for some reason, didn't list what company we used or what boat we used, so sorry about that. So I just don't have that information. But I can tell you they took us on a wonderful 2-hour tour. of the Milford Sounds. It was really beautiful. It was cloudy, but since it had just rained, you can see all of these little rivers coming down the mountain. That's because of rainwater. So those aren't usually there, and we got to see them like flowing down the mountain. So it was kind of a cool thing to see. And then, of course, there were some wildlife out there. We didn't really see, I don't remember seeing the little dolphins that they have there that are unique there to there, or any orcas or anything. I don't remember seeing any like um sea life other than these fur seals, more seals. Um, and then if they're a good tour, they'll take you to what they call the Fountain of Youth. And if even if it's cold, you have to go out there and get slammed with water by the Fountain of Youth. See, it's done amazing for me. I'm okay. But yeah, I did go out and I did get splashed by the Fountain of Youth. So if you're looking for the Fountain of Youth and that's on your bucket list, it's in New Zealand. And then on the way back, we were gonna do the Gertrude Valley Lookout and day hike, which is like 5 hours long. We decided to skip that because I had gone out and gotten all wet in the Fountain of Youth, and it would be too cold to go out in like wet clothing and go hike. And I didn't bring any extra clothing. So that might be a good tip for you. If you're gonna go on this and go into the Fountain of Youth, bring some extra clothes so that you can go hiking afterwards. So we decided to just go back to Tandu for the night there. Um, and then day 14, our last real day. Um, so we went from Tandu to Queenstown. So we checked out of our Airbnb, started driving at 8 a.m. And we, instead of checking into the new Airbnb or the new hotel right away, we instead went to the Skyline Gondola, and took that all the way to the top. This beautiful, they have, so it's a gondola. Yeah, you should know what that looks like. I didn't include a photo of it, sorry. But we took it all the way to the top. We had lunch, and then they have this luge. That's how you say it, right? Luge. Have this luge track, which is basically you take this car down by gravity. So a little frightening. And you take it down this track, but it's on the mountainside. You can see these views. These views were amazing. That's my husband again. We're eating lunch here, and those views, man, I miss those views. And then we went down this after. So for $125 for two adults, we got lunch, we got the gondola to get up to lunch, and we luged down after. So that was a really fun experience. And then we checked into our Queenstown hotel, which was the Swiss Belle Resort Coronet Peak at 4:30 p.m., which was 165 for one night, kind of pricey, and kind of outside Queenstown. So you can imagine how pricey inside Queenstown was. But I picked that location because it was right next door to this onsen hot pools place. And I wanted to be able to walk there and walk back so that we could have some wine, um, or champagne, I guess. But this was my picture. So it is amazing. It's called Onsen Hot Pools, and you enjoy a private hot tub. It's only 1 hour, and it was $94 for two adults. But you can see, and we got like wine and little snacks for that price. But you can see how amazing is this view. You know, it's just open to that view, and you just sit in the hot pool and just enjoy and relax. And that's how we wanted to spend our last night, our last true night, I guess I should say, in New Zealand, our last part of our vacation. Um, so that was an amazing last night. But then we had to get back to Auckland. So day 15 was us going from Queenstown to Auckland. We did have another canceled activity. We were going to do the Shotover Canyon jet boat ride, but the lake was too high at that time because of all the rain, so they canceled it. It would have been $176 for two adults. So that would have been a really cool ride, kind of thrilling, kind of scary. But it's fine. It was canceled. We'll get on a jet boat ride some other time. We'll get there. And then we checked out of our hotel and dropped off a rental car around 1 p.m. The car drop off was at the Queenstown airport, which is really nice. So you could drop off the car, go straight to your flight. And the flight back to Auckland was at 2:40 p.m. It was $162 for two adults, so not too expensive at all to go domestic flight. And then we departed at 2:40 and we got there at 4:30. No time changes there. And then after we got to Auckland, we Ubered to our hotel, checked into the Auckland Best Western Hotel, $102 for one night, so kind of cheap. We just needed somewhere cheap to stay because in the morning it was time to go back to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So the nice thing is flying back, you make time back, right? You get some of that time back. So we boarded at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, November 16th, and it was a 24-hour total flight. It was a red eye to from New Zealand to San Francisco, and then from Francisco to Chicago, and then Chicago to Cedar Rapids. So we arrived at 8:56 p.m. On the 16th still. So even though it took a full day to travel back, you arrive basically, what is that, like 5 hours, 6 hours later, almost. So you do make your time back on the way back. So you can leave on a Saturday and still show up on a Saturday. It's a long distance, so I would definitely recommend giving yourself an extra day to rest before you return to work, which is what we did. We got back on a Saturday, we gave ourselves Sunday to rest, and then we went back to work on Monday. So that was our whole trip. And really exciting stuff. I don't really have any videos to add at the end of this. So sorry about that. I just couldn't find any of my videos and I could hardly find any pictures. So sorry about that. Um, but so I do want to highlight, um, I do have the Sunshine Bird shop on Etsy, and I actually create like digital travel guides and travel planning tools. And I actually put together this unofficial guide to New Zealand. It's 25 plus pages of information. It includes region overviews that have top attractions, wildlife, dining, when to visit, how to get around, general information such as like the entry requirements and adapters needed, packing essentials, what to bring, money saving tips. Plus, you get access to annual updates, so you're never stuck with last year's information. So I actually have this in a Canva view only for $4.95 and a Canva template for maybe some other travel advisors that want to rebrand and send it to your travel clients for $14.95. And I'll put those links in the description of this video. So go ahead and click those and if you want to purchase one of these. And thank you in advance if you do, because you are supporting my small little travel business. And then I did make something super extra for this because I want everyone to go and experience New Zealand. New Zealand was so great. So I created this New Zealand itinerary, the ultimate New Zealand road trip. So basically what I did was I put together like region by region, where to stay, how many days you need. And the days are like the days say, okay, go to this attraction, go to this attraction, go experience this lunch at this place. You know, they're like 68 days of adventure, just road tripping through New Zealand. And I did make it, you get both the Canva view only in the Canva template in this one, which is why it's $14.95. Because what you can do is you can actually edit it to mix and match activities, delete or add days, and customize it into your perfect trip. So I'm hoping that this really helps you like outline your New Zealand trip. And of course, I am a travel advisor, so if you don't want to go through all of this, just give me a shout out. I'll help you schedule and plan your New Zealand adventure. I would love to do that for you. Um, so either way, that's all I have. Please subscribe to my channel. I put out review videos like this at least once a month, and I come out with new travel guides at least once a month. So you always want to know what's going on in my life. This is it. So just please subscribe, and I will see you guys next month. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a comment with anything, any feedback that you have, or any locations, destinations that you want me to do later. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.